Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network, presented by Coors Light. Go from full-time to game time. Coors Light, made to chill. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. I'm your host, William Liu. I am joined by co-host Blake Murphy for Hour 1, and this is what we have for you today. A really busy day on the show, on the heels of interviewing Commissioner Adam Silver, which I'm still reeling from. But Hour 1, we're going to be joined by co-host Blake Murphy. First, we're going to run through a lighthearted interview that I did with Gary Trent Jr. yesterday, which we're going to run for you shortly. In segment 2, we will catch up with Michael Grange of Sportsnet on everything Raptors. Third quarter, we got Tim McMahon, a.k.a. Him McMahon, a.k.a. Ben McMahon, on to chat about the Western Conference. And then fourth quarter, we'll bring in producer and co-host Alex Wong to do an Asian roundtable with my Boston Will clone, Souchi Terada of MassLive. But mostly we're going to talk about, the Celtics game that's going to be taking place. And
am I like in trouble on the show now if I say I don't think you guys look alike?
No. Actually, that's the opposite of being in trouble.
Okay, I don't really see it.
Okay,
I know it's fun bit, and he's obviously a great guest, but I don't see the look-alike that much.
Well, we will have him on Zoom, so we can do the literal side-by-side comparison. But anyway, first off, we wanted to give you this interview that we recorded with Gary Trent Jr. This took place yesterday afternoon, shortly before the Raptor City Social. So without further ado, this is that interview. Joining us on the show once again is Gary Trent Jr. Gary, first off, welcome back, all that kind of stuff. We need to get your dad back on the show too. So this is just a shameless plug to tell him to pull up as well. All right.
No, I got you. Again, all he needs is somebody to listen to. He crazy. That's all he wants somebody to do is listen, and he will talk all day. So
listen, we're gonna call the clear out. We know what to do, man. When we interview him, we don't even prepare questions, bro. That's what we do. We just chat with him. All right, listen. Yeah, so we're gonna talk a little basketball, and then we'll talk fashion, we'll talk style, we'll talk your collaboration with Gillette. But I wanted to take you back to this summer. This summer, you chose to opt in, stay in with the Raptors for this season. I wanted to ask you sort of what went into that decision for you, and how are you feeling about it right now?
To be honest with you, really just most of my decisions in life was just best for, my family and myself. To be honest with you, to start off, obviously, I've been here for a certain amount of time now, with no matter how everything is going on, no matter what's going on. I continue to try to come in and work and try to do, whatever I can to showcase towards winning. And that's what I'm going to continue to do, So to be back here and where we're at now, new coach, whole new system, a whole new, couple new players. Right now, we're trying to continue to figure it out and get as many wins as we can in the process. We're still learning. We're still showing improving. We're still getting better every day. But the thing is, if we stay together and we continue to attack every single issue and problem that we have as a collective group and go at it head on, I feel like we'll be fine. If everybody stays together, nobody points fingers, nobody makes excuses, nobody, does this, that, and the third, it'll be a great thing.
All right. So one thing we keep talking about on the show, because we're tracking, especially with Darko coming in and bringing a new offense, right? We're tracking the results of that right now. And obviously you guys are off to a bit of a slow start. Offensively. Defensively, you guys are solid like we kind of expected you guys to be. Offensively, where do you see the room for growth for you guys as a group collectively?
Spacing, knowing where we can get our buckets in the offense, knowing what's our strengths in the system, knowing what works, what doesn't work. Again, wrinkle out in the kinks and continue to watch the film. You see, okay, here, what just doesn't work here, how we can attack this there, and formulate it. And that's what it's, really about, really all about, is continue to try to, find different ways to win and find different things that work.
Right. Well, I mean, you're obviously going to be a big part of the offense. It's something where the last couple of seasons we've seen you up around almost 20 points a game. Right now you're a little down, but at the same time, we know what your level is going to be. How do you feel in terms of your fit, your comfort in the offense right now?
Again, I'm going to continue to try to come in and work and figure it out, just how everybody else is figuring it out. Again, what I've done here in the last 3 seasons, whether it's minutes up from last few seasons here, minutes down, shots up, shots down, playing time down. If you're finishing games, not finishing games, none of that really matters. You got to come in and work. And whatever time you out on the floor, that's what, you're showcasing, and that's what you got to try to do in the time of impact and winning. So again, my approach every day is to come in, work, be a great teammate, and control what I can control, and try to come in and contribute to winning. That's my main focus, and that's all I really focus on.
Got you. All right. So earlier we talked about you choosing to opt back in with the Raptors. If you had to pitch someone else, another player in the league who had never played in Toronto before, if you had to pitch Toronto, both as a city and as an organization, what would that pitch be?
A great city, has great food, a pretty decent nightlife, a pretty great fan base, a great following. It's not just a state that's behind you, it's a country behind you. You will come here, you'll be able to work, develop, have some winning traditions and some winning, understanding and work ethics and championship, you know, ideology and thinking on winning. It's different. I just had an interview and I was talking to somebody. Everybody's perception is different on, how they were brought into the league, whether you're the number one pick is going to be different from somebody that's from the second round, or if you're a 13th pick, everybody's perception is different. And, everybody's organization is different as well, too. When I first got to the league, or on the outside looking into the league, you would think, oh, it's the NBA. It's kind of a template and a format of how each organization is. And that's not the case at all. Like, every organization is literally different down to the medical staffs, whether how they interact with each other or interact with the players, down to the coaches, down to the front offices, from top to bottom, everywhere. But really here, I would say it's really come in or work. We're coming to win championships. We can have some fun. We joke around here and there, but we don't play around too much, in a sense, with our approach, with certain things. And you will come here to win it. You'll come here to be a part of something that wants to chase greatness, and if wants to be a part of greatness, and if that's something you want to be a part of or do, this would be the place for that.
Yeah, I hear that, because the word you kept using over and over again is winning, right? And that's what it's almost a running joke how much Masai says it, but it's not funny like that, because it's actually what he believes in. Top down organization. We walk in the gym, it says win on the big board. So I mean, look, listen, it's a journey to that process too, obviously, because we as fans, and media, we saw 2019, we saw how fun that was, but it was that whole journey that led up to that point. And I think listen, we're hoping all to get eventually to that point. Last question on basketball, before we talk about fashion and all that kind of stuff. But I had to ask you this because it happened. It happened last week.
Y'all closing?
Yo, it feels like they're trying to shut me down. You got called for your first career flop against the Mavs. So this is a new rule, right? A new tech, whatever. You got a tech for flopping. Mm-hmm. You didn't even hit the floor. You kind of just got knocked back. I think it was Dante Exum you were guarding. But your reaction as a player in the moment, have you ever been called for flopping? And also, I guess you never got a tech for flopping because it's a new rule, but what was your side of things?
I probably would have been called for one. I don't even know if I ever been called for a flop, to be honest with you. But two, to my defense, if you rewatch the clip, he made contact. All I did was just stumble back, and then I tried to come back to playing defense. They thought it was a flop, but again, it was contact. But that's what the call was, and there's no changing it in the middle of the game. So it is what it is.
I mean, I think, look, as the league, they're definitely trying to implement new rules and whatever, but I feel like it's got to be like one of those like meme-worthy, egregious ones. You falling over, all this other stuff. Like,
yeah, I don't know, you falling over, rolling, but they pick and choose on what they're called. So it's all good though. I'm gonna come in and still play hard and play defense. Keep my hands out, and whatever's called is going to be called.
That's right. It's not in your hands anymore. All right, so we gotta pivot over, and I want to mention, so Gillette is announcing the return of its Choose Your Game Face campaign in celebration of its continued role as the official shave and beard care partner of the Raptors. And obviously you're part of Team Styled. If you watch a Raptors game, we see you on the commercials. You on one side, Grady's on the other side. I'm gonna ask you about Grady in a second.
Sure.
But okay, so take me through your process, right? So like, what is your face care routine when it comes to taking care of the beard?
Well, keep my game face ready. You see the nice beard, obviously. King C. Gillette has amazing products, whether you can, wash, condition, have a nice trimmer. You can do whatever you do with that. Could look good, feel good, play good, that type of thing. But, that's really about it. My beard has been growing. You brought up Grady. He's not there yet all the
Yeah.
way.
I
But
don't know if you'll ever get there, man.
nah, who knows? Maybe if he grew up a little bit, he might. But again, speaking on Grady, it was great to, obviously have that opportunity to even film, the shoot with him. We had a couple photo shoot, a
Mhm.
commercial shoot that was about 4 or 5 hours. It was even before the season even started. So I wasn't really even being around him every day. So it was early introduction of just who he is and how he conversates. His approach to it as a rookie was super serious, and it was super cool to see him working in that light. Obviously see him shooting and practicing in the gym, but now I'm seeing him trying to remember lines and say certain photos and take certain poses and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it was cool just to see him in that light. So it was good.
Well, I was gonna say, well, Grady, these kids are different, right? This is part of the NIL generation. You know what I mean? Like this ain't his first ad. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he was part of that. And he was part of that. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you saw him on draft day, not only with the suit, everyone was looking at the suit. People didn't see the chain though.
Yeah, he stays super icy. He already icy. He got a couple chains on the seen him in, but
Okay.
that's that NIL bread.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, listen, on the topic of Grady, right, who is obviously part of Team Smooth, and looks to
Mhm.
be he's gonna stay on Team Smooth for a while, if I have to predict, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
so I'm thinking about him, and he's coming in as a 19-year-old. And you also came into the league as a 19-year-old as well. So what do you remember about like coming to the league as a teenager still and trying to figure out sort of both what you're supposed to do on the court and also life off the court?
100%. Really, just on the court was just the pace and the speed. And as the years went on, everything slowed down, and it gets slower and slower as the years continue. Off the court, I already had a pro approach to my life prior to me getting to the league, and obviously my father being in the league and all the resources that I had to understand what it takes to be a pro and the things you need to do. So I wouldn't say too much of that changed, but really was just seeing, I would say, other players in the NBA, whether they was mentoring me or, for example, when I went to Portland, just seeing how Dame and CJ and Melo and Evan Turner and Chief Aminu and how everybody had their different approaches and their different things. And I watched how they carried themselves on the court. I watched how they was carrying themselves off the court, everything. So just trying to learn, absorb, and he's doing the same thing. And Brady's been doing a great job. Again, like you said, he's 19, and he has a long way to go. He's going to continue to prove, and he's there. He's playing. He's nowhere a finished product of what he's going to be or what he can be. He continues to work, and the sky's the limit.
Yeah, and you get the sense too that he's already a really mature kid, for his age. I don't know if that's just for us in the media, but is he like that behind the scenes? Is he
Yeah, I
mature?
would say he's too mature, but you got to think, he's kind of a mature 19-year-old in the sense, but then you got to
Yeah,
remember he's on the team, so a lot of jokes and a lot of stuff. Nothing wrong with it. He does joke
yeah.
around a lot or make certain sounds or certain things or laugh at certain stuff, but it's great. He's funny. He's hilarious, and he's cool people's. Yeah.
All right. I want to ask you one thing about fashion before I hit you with this little surprise that I guess you already know about. But
I got
um, your teammates, right? This is such a big thing now in the NBA where you walk in, the tunnel is this huge thing. Everyone wants to put it on the fit. And I'm just looking at your teammates right now. There's such a certain diversity to it. There's Garrett Temple, who comes into every game looking like a Bay Street lawyer,
yeah.
suit, three-piece, shoes, everything, socks.
Super clean and professional.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's you, right? Well, I would say that you're the most fashionable guy on the team. This is my own personal opinion,
I
but
hear you.
you got your style. But then there's certain guys in the league that just come in sweats. Do you ever talk to them about that? Because it's just like, yo, at a certain point, like I guess some guys just opt out and they're like, yo, I guess I'm just coming to hoop. Like I don't need to do all this. But I want to hear
Yeah.
your perspective on that.
No, ain't nothing wrong with that. It's a lot of guys that that do that. There's even certain guys, in our team that may do that. Shout out to my man OG. OG will pull up
Yeah,
sometimes in some basketball shorts, and a hoodie with no t-shirt under. You know what I'm saying? But that's just
come
his
on, man.
swag. That's his style. And, nothing wrong with it. He comes to the gym and he had no business. So it really don't matter, what he wearing or what he pull up in. As long as you come in and handle business, they don't care.
I know, I got you, man. No, the funniest
Yeah.
guy was I guess Jacopo's like this now a little bit, but Marc Gasol used to just always come to the game in his Raptor sweats, like ready to go. If he had to sit on the bench directly off the bus,
He was ready.
he was ready. Like you got the sense that he had shorts on under his pants. You know what I mean? Like he's out ready. So listen, you've been giving out obviously a lot of fits, on your Instagram, or just you walking in the gym and stuff like that. And I mentioned earlier that you are, at least in my opinion, one of the more fashionable guys in the league, definitely on the team. I just wanted to get your advice, because again, you're stamped in this front, so I need fashion advice clearly based on sort of what I'm wearing right now. So I'm gonna get you to help me out with a couple of these fits. All right, you're gonna tell me if it's a smooth fit, all right, as in you don't really need to do anything with it. If it's a styled fit, like you got to do a little bit more to get it to a certain point, or if you just got to shave it off. All right, shave off this fit, like throw it all in the trash. All right.
All right, I got you, man. Let's see what's up.
All right, let me share this screen with you. So this is me actually before a game earlier this week, a Milwaukee game. I'm courtside. I'm doing a little radio hit, but I got my jacket on. But I need you to tell me: is this smooth? Is this styled? Or do I got to shave this off?
No, let me see. This smooth, bro. You just chilling, bro. You on the chill vibes. You see what I'm saying? Look, you got the Vancouver with the gray hoodie under there. Then with the gray, you see him with the gray pants with the yellow top. You see what I'm saying? I'm going crazy. The white shoes is cool. It is decent, but if you had, would do go with it. But if you had like a little bit of green in them, like the little grizzly undershirt, or if you had a tint of the little yellow in it and the shoes or something, you feel me? It could really go crazy. But that ain't bad, bro. You on the radio, so that's cool. You good.
I am on the radio. You're right. No, man. I'm gonna let you know. I'm a regular civilian. I got like 5 pairs of shoes to cycle through, so I don't have no yellow shoes, unfortunately. But I appreciate you. That's good. Cool. What about this one? Another one at work. So obviously I'm in the camo right there. You might have to squint a little bit.
No, that's smooth. That's a cardigan?
Is that a cardigan? No, it's just a shirt, man.
Is that a cardigan or a jacket?
No, it's just a shirt, man. It's just a shirt. It's like it's a fleece shirt,
man. It looked fuzzy. It looked like a little fuzzy little.
It is fuzzy.
See? Yeah. No, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's hard. That's clean. I like that.
All right. Baggy pants is cool, right?
Then you even threw the scarf over the swag on the mouth. Yeah, over the mouth. I like that.
Yeah. No, I know something that I was gonna compare myself to you. I'm not gonna do that. Never mind. Forget that. All right. Next one. Next one.
Clean. That's clean. Ooh, is that bread in your hand?
So this is a picture of me when I was in high school.
Okay.
I was the high school treasurer. All right. So we had to take photos for student government.
You got all the bands in your hand. That's why.
That's why I think I got like $45 Canadian in that in that picture. But what about the fit though? As a 18-year-old, what about this 18-year-old fit?
That 18-year-old fit, man, look like you really about business. I don't really know too many 18-year-olds that's coming with the button up, tucked in, with the polo. You feel me? You coming about business. You coming to work. You not playing no games, and that's why you the treasurer and holding the money, because you was about business. You know what I'm saying? So ain't nothing wrong with that. That's clean. You feel me? That's throw in there. Throw that in again. I even had back in my day, I wear a jersey to school.
Okay.
Then the next day I wear a sweater vest to school. Then I wear polo button up. I'll mix it up. All types of different cardigans. Yeah, sweater vest. So this smooth. That ain't bad at all.
Yeah, what I gotta do is cut the hair though, man. That haircut is tough, man. That's a 2010 haircut, man.
No, ain't nothing wrong with that. You feel me? All right. It could even be longer.
Wow. It was longer.
That'd be hard too. You feel me? That's cool right there. But if you had it hanging, that'd be hard.
All right. Damn. I gotta let my hair down more. All right. Last one. This one is terrible, bro. They have you doing a work company photo shoot. And ultimately this is sort of what they had sort of suggested to me, something similar to this. But I'm gonna need your serious help. I need a lot of help on this one, man.
No, that's cool.
No, come on, Gary. No, bro.
No. Listen, no, it's not that bad. If they would have switched, if they could have just put like a black turtleneck or a light gray turtleneck, you in business. That's all.
Okay, you're right.
You have to switch. They just got your turtleneck off. You see what I'm saying? That's it.
Okay. Wow.
If they do a black turtleneck or a light gray, it could go perfect with the jeans. And then if you get too hot, you can take the jacket off. And then the dark with the light, it'll contrast off.
Yeah, the hand rubbing pose is not the coolest pose. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I appreciate you, Gary.
Mean?
Well, you like the hand pose? All right, all right.
You was rubbing your hands together, right? And they took a picture mid-picture.
No, they directed everything out of this, man. They said put your hands together. They said rub them. I was like, all right, man, whatever you guys want.
Yeah,
So,
ain't nothing wrong with that. That's
all right.
You was doing the Birdman rub together hands.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Gary, listen, man, I appreciate this, man. I got to get your consulting
bro,
in real life too, man. All right. Well, listen, appreciate you for joining us on the show. All right. We still got to get your dad on the show. Tell him we got a new studio. All right. Okay. Bigger studio.
The lights gonna flicker on and off.
Bro, the lights were brighter than expected, Jared Allen style. You know what I mean? Like it's
in that. All good though.
Yeah, tell him to come through. I know he always makes a trip every month, 2 months or so. So, but otherwise, hope you get healthy. Hope you get back on the court. We got you. Big game against the Celtics. So appreciate you. All right.
Thank you, man. Be good. I'll see you soon.
All right. That was
he said you're doing the Birdman hand gesture.
I was not doing the Birdman.
That was great, man.
Thank you.
Also, I'm glad. I hope no bosses are listening, right? I'm glad you felt the same way I did about our headshot sessions.
Yeah.
Back, listen, I guess 2.5 years ago now.
I really appreciate the opportunity, and ultimately that was my own wardrobe. So like, there's no one to blame but me. In that instance,
no, we need Amy back in. Maybe not quite as loud as What's Coming, but somewhere in between our own wardrobe and what Amy could put together for us.
I should have got Gary to rate your upcoming fit. I should have showed him your photo, but I think that might be for another time. But
it's also one that like I wish I had known what the outfit was ahead of time, because I would have done exactly what Gary was trying to tell you, which is like the shoes that I'm wearing right now, for example, have a lot of gold accents because we'll be on a black and gold court tonight. Oh, okay. So I mostly wear black anyway. So the shoes don't really complement this, but the black and gold shoes with the black and gold court. The thing I'm wearing in that commercial is black and gold. But I'm in like.
Please tell me you're gonna go home and put that on before you go to the arena.
No. Okay. No. But I would have worn these kicks if I had known. But instead, I'm in like a gray and off white one. I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is good. I think fashion advice is something I definitely could use a lot of in my life. And it did. First off, I mean, thanks to Gary, thanks to Gary's people at Clutch for making the opportunity to interview him possible. But I also think that even just chatting with him a little bit, it didn't seem like there was too much interest in like specifically talking about ball.
I got that impression.
So I'm like, all right, let's pivot towards something I know you.
He's like, I don't want to talk about my place in the offense. Let me see your worst turtleneck.
Look, listen, we can have more fun conversations too, but I guess the last thing I want to say before the break is just I just wanted to ask you, like, how can we get Gary Trent Jr. back on track? Because so right now he's averaging 10 points per game. Last 2 seasons for the Raptors, he's at 18 and then 17. He's shooting well below average from 2. He's at 38% from 2. Last year, for example, was a career high for him, 49% from 2-point range. And then also he's shooting 40% on free throws, which is so odd because he was pretty much an 80 to 85% free throw shooter for the rest of the time in the league. So how do we get Gary back on track? Because I feel like this is in terms of room for improvement offensively. And I know he didn't really want to get into it, so I'll ask you instead.
Yeah, I think
how can we get more of it?
There are a couple things. And one, like you mentioned, the free throw shooting, like a guy who is a borderline 40% 3-point shooter does not just forget how to shoot free throws. Like, I think that's all the evidence you need, that this is a little bit of cold shooting noise.
Okay.
I thought he's done a decent job finding spots in the offense for that like elbow runner that he has. If he's coming off a pin down, if he's coming off one of those DHOs, he has the space to get that off. The touch on them just isn't there. That's something he needs to continue to work on. Get that Ish Smith, Etwan Moore kind of floater game up. Those are not elite players, but they were very good role players for a long time because they had that floater range in the mix where maybe you don't want to run a whole action to have him come off at the 3-point line every time because you're trying to work a little closer inside. You want some paint touches. Those should be available. I think tonight, Gary is probable and OG is doubtful. So we could get a look at what it looks like when Gary is playing with more starters. And he's been the first sub in when healthy. So he's had some minutes with the starters. Scotty comes out and he goes in, or Jakob comes out and he goes in. Right. So he's got a little bit of minutes in those situations. But given how poorly the bench has played offensively, I think that could help to get him going as well. I don't think that's a justification necessarily for you got to start Gary.
Right.
That's more of a see how everything settles once Gary and OG are back. If Dennis shakes off the knee thing, you kind of reevaluate them. But I think in the short term, him getting to play, 20 minutes with that starting unit tonight, if that's how they shake it out, I think that could benefit him, get a couple of easier looks and, a little, because in those bench units, I like him off the bench at times because you need that scoring punch, but it also means he's where the defensive attention is going.
Yeah.
And in the starting lineup, that's a little easier.
Yeah, I think Gary has really operated well as somebody who can finish plays, somebody who can capitalize with other players drawing double teams. And so when you're putting him off the bench, it does feel like he has to be the one generating the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just for anybody, but especially for Gary, I think it really does eat into his efficiency. Having said that, though, he's a pretty quality player, and we have seen a much higher level from him in the last 2 years. And in terms of just like where's the room to improve in the offense? Part of the reason I asked him that question, because I think he is the room to improve in the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the one that him and Pascal are the two underperforming for the offense, where we know they can be pretty good scorers, but they haven't necessarily been that every game this season, and that's part of the reason why he's been struggling. But yeah, I don't know, man. Any ways to fix the Raptors offense will be great.
Yeah, well, we'll take a break and we'll see what Michael Grange thinks. By the way, everyone, there must have been a mass text go out because every reporter, Bradley Beal's out at least 3 more weeks.
Okay.
Again, so that Phoenix Suns team is just, we're not going to see it. We're not going to see the 3 of them together until the playoffs, I guess.
You're under on the Phoenix Suns.
They're 5-6.
Better and better. But we're going to take that break. I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptor Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to The Raptor Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Wayne Lou. Joining me for segment 2, our co-host, Blake Murphy, and Michael Grange. Grange, we did not tease your appearance on the show as much as we did for Adam Silver, so I'm sorry.
I'm a little disappointed.
You didn't get the silver treatment. You got like bronze or something.
I'll take it in stride. I understand.
It's all good. This man was huffing and
good.
puffing.
You guys did a good job. You got him, asked him some good questions.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
We have to follow up on the getting some skims sent in, but otherwise I think job okay done.
Got a little G League angle in there.
Yeah. Of course I'm going to do that. We were actually anyway, there will be more G League stuff next week.
There will be more G League stuff.
Get G League Adam Silver on the line.
The G League's still alive every time Blake Murphy rhymes. All right, Grange, I want to ask you actually just before we even start on that subject of Silver. Do you remember, when you were like coming up, young journalist, probably 5 years ago, based on your age. Was there an interview that you were like, you psyched yourself up for?
Well, one of them was, when I was coming up, nothing exactly that comes to mind exactly like that. I think I've done a number of like kind of quasi almost documentary stuff here with Sportsnet. And so when you're like a good example would be, we did a big Vince Carter kind of 30-minute talk.
When he came back, right? When he was with Memphis?
When he was in Dallas, it was like, I think we pegged it to either 10 or 15 years after the trade. And it was kind of at that point where maybe we need to re-examine exactly how all that went down. And it was like, it was like a 30-minute documentary and a huge magazine piece with it at the time. And so I do remember, and Vince was all game for it and going down to Dallas and being nervous because so many resources had been plugged into this.
Right.
And you're just kind of worried you're going to screw it up.
You got to deliver.
But to your point, the experience you guys had yesterday, it's a big figure. It's live or live-ish. I don't know.
It was live.
It was live.
Yeah.
And it's, you want to like make sure you get every morsel out of it you possibly can. So it's, I thought you guys did really well, and it's good for you. It's a good thing to have, and good interview to get, and I would understandably be nervous about that for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Grange. I always appreciate career advice. No, seriously. Yeah. Same thing when Devlin comes in. I always just ask him. Well, actually, nowadays Devlin just gives me career advice unprompted. But
he scoots up to you, and
it's like usually before the game.
You're not doing very good. You got to do better.
He's like, well, just because they lost to the Portland Trailblazers in November does not mean you got to fire everybody. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Thanks.
I remember a few years ago, I was texting with Alex about this and interviewed Silver kind of in the wake of all the stuff that went down with Masai in Oakland.
Right.
And, I give credit to Alex for this because, at the time, I think Adam Silver Adam, I will call him Adam. He had recorded that documentary for HBO. I think it was about Masai. And kind of the way it came across was probably not ideal in terms of how he made reference to that and sort of
Well, he was like, when you live on the edge like that, sometimes you can get into trouble, which is not what happened in this case.
Yeah, there was an implication that it was kind of a two-sided affair, and to Alex's credit, some other people online on Twitter kind of like, now that the facts have come to light, maybe there should be an apology. And I remember going, yeah, maybe I will. So I got in touch with the commissioner's office, and Adam was willing to do it. And but I remember I was like, my kids were younger at that time, and I was like, I was always in the middle of picking or dropping somebody off or picking somebody up. And so I just dropped my kid off somewhere, my son, and I'm like waiting for this call in a parking lot. And what's the cell service? I'm like recording. It wasn't live, obviously, but it was equally nerve wracking because I'm like, somehow I'm going to screw this up. And sure enough, we had to do 2 or 3 phone backs because his connection was bad. But he ended up like, he's a very, I think, amenable guy and a very smart guy. And to his credit, I think he recognized that he was wrong and he wanted to make it right. And so, I'm sure it won't be the last time you guys talk to him.
All right. Well, I hope so. They have a good relationship, Masai.
Yeah, I hope it's for better reasons than the Masai angle or some of the things we had to ask him about yesterday.
For sure.
But
but that's his job too, right? Like he's he's answerable, like it or not.
Yeah, a huge part of that job is PR.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
you want to talk about the Raptors? Do you want to talk about the IST?
A much less interesting topic, the Toronto Raptors. No, go ahead. Let's talk about the IST.
How are you feeling for it? Because
I got thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, look, we've all had a chance now to get used to it. The Raptors are the 30th team to play, so we've seen three in-season tournament nights already. We've gotten a feel for the courts. I actually thought the pictures that the team put out of the court today looked way better than the initial ones that we saw, so that looks cool. But is it going to matter? Do they care? How much does the shot at 5 games from now, getting maybe $500K extra? Like, how are you feeling about all of this?
I think it's I think in the very short term, this is what's going to happen. And for me, like Pascal Siakam's a really good bellwether on this kind of stuff. Like it or not, like I find him he does have a bit of an everyman vibe in terms of how he actually responds to hype and buzz and all that kind of stuff. He's like, okay, well, it really matters if we win or lose. And
yeah, I liked what he said to you in your piece at sportsnet.ca of like, well, they're also regular season games. We should try to win every one of them. Why would we try to win these ones more?
And this is something that doesn't get brought up enough. But I think what's going to happen, they're going to go to the arena. They're going to have their new fits. They're going to look, the court's new. And it's going to feel a little different. It's going to I think it will get a little bit of juice going. And I think in general, both players, because half of them don't know what's going on, and fans get more aware of what's going on, it'll build a little bit life of its own. I think, by the time this thing is in Vegas and you've got a little bit of a Final Four vibe, it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun for fans. I think the players that'll be there will be into it. And
well, then you're really close to right now, I'd imagine it's hard. And I know Dennis Schroeder gave you a good quote about it, about like 500K is 500K.
Right.
Like we've seen him get really competitive in shooting drills with like a 5 on the floor. And now you're talking about a 500,000 on the floor. But like that's harder to touch right now. If you get to Vegas and you're in the semifinals and then the finals, then it's like that game is for $500,000 each. I could see it. I don't have any doubt that the semifinals and finals on a neutral site in Vegas with actual stuff on the line is going to be very, very cool. It's just a matter of, can they find the way to make the regular season portion of the in-season tournament stick?
And this is, where I've kind of arrived at. Obviously, this is the first year they've done it, so there's tons of tweaks and things available to come, I'm sure. But for this thing to really, in the end, have legs and really be something that people can point to and go, wow, this is the in-season cup. This is brought to you by Google or whatever it's going to be. I think these games are going to have to be hived off the regular season because what you're doing, and this was what Pascal was saying, and which is obvious. I was talking to some guys when the Wizards were in town, and it's like Monday night, November, Wizards, Raptors. Like, what are you going to, like, this is only so interesting to so many people.
Yeah.
And in fact, by elevating some games in the regular season over others, well, then you're kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like, well, I guess those other games really don't matter, right? So,
and I think there has to be, so for anyone who doesn't know, the G League has basically tried to do something like this where the first 16 games of the season, the winners then end up in the G League Showcase, which is in Vegas in late December, when it's basically the unofficial start of trade season because all the GMs are there. And who knows, maybe the in-season tournament replaces that in terms of the GM meeting side. But they've kind of done it as like, okay, well, we'll do a 16-game mini season and then reset and do a 34-game season with a real playoffs. I don't think that does it for the NBA as well. They have to find some way to delineate, but have them run parallel.
And so where I kind of was brainstorming on this is there's so much talk about like cutting back on the regular season, whatever it is. So maybe, and I haven't thought all this through A to Z, so maybe there's a way the regular season becomes 76 or 72, whatever it might be. But then there's another package of games that don't count in the standings that are specific to this event. It's a true cup. And, you know, and once the sponsorship gets rolling and the identity of it gets rolling, it's real money. It's over and above the salary cap. Maybe there's some roster rules you can tweak. And, you know, that's, I think, what it needs is to be, this is our special thing. And like, if you're really blue skying, maybe that's how you integrate world leagues in this. So maybe there's a similar event in the EuroLeague where the winner of EuroLeague plays the winner of the IST, or maybe it's a EuroLeague All-Star team against something. I don't know. Yeah. I obviously these ideas are for free. Adam, call your buddy. See if he's interested.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know European teams would be theoretically interested. Yeah. They already run the EuroLeague and Euro Cup system concurrent to the regular seasons. Real Madrid comes over here to play every time they get an opportunity to.
I think everyone's looking for opportunities to integrate. But I guess my real point is as long as these pool games, these play-in games, pool play, I guess, is part of the regular season.
Yeah,
I don't see how it ever gets anything other than kind of fun to be in Vegas. Personally,
that's a really good point. That's really interesting because, you know, again, they're trying to base this off of European soccer competitions, and yeah, like what happens in the FA Cup does not count towards what happens in terms of who wins the league at the end of the year. Right. They're totally different things.
Or the Champions League, you earn your way into it, and you're only playing these teams in the Champions League.
So what is the timeline like on those in terms of, like, I know that they're concurrent in terms of, like, on the basketball side, at least, like, teams have their, you know, French league roster, and then, like, AS Monaco has their main roster, and then for EuroLeague, there are different rules around how many, like, import players you can have. Sure. So there are some guys over there who, like, maybe only play in EuroLeague games and stuff. But then EuroLeague runs later in the year, so most league championships wrap up, and then EuroLeague's still going. The NBA, I think, has pretty clearly and will continue to, like, they want the emphasis to be on the first half of the season. They would probably want this thing wrapped by the All-Star break. How does soccer handle that element if they want to, like, if the NBA say wanted to expand this, but the cup still has to end in like late January?
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of run parallel. So, you know, the Premier League matches are pretty much all played on weekends, some on Mondays, but like that's typically what happens throughout the year. So, you know, on weekends, that's like the regular league games. And then you have midweek games where they're traveling to wherever in Europe outside of their country to play other countries, domestic teams and stuff like that. So that's, I think, you know, the delineations that you can see midweek versus like weekend kind of games. But I think to Grange's idea, it's really cool because if you did have a separate sort of tournament that's like outside of the regular season entirely, maybe the NBA even takes a break and then they play this sort of thing.
Yeah, or you know, instead of it being a Final Four in Vegas, maybe it's a 16-team 4-day thing, or, you know, week-long thing in Vegas, something, right? And to me, the key would be to really make it pop is who, because clearly this is being done to create a new broadcast property,
for sure,
right? Like let's not be foolish. And so maybe to really make it pop, it's like, yeah, this thing is, you got, you know, you're Gary Trent Jr., you're making your $18 million this year, but this tournament is a chance for you to make, you know, a big boatload of money. Winners are getting, you know, winner shares like $3 million. If you make it to the Final Four, like real money, guys are going to go, whoa. Okay.
Well, it can't be bigger than the winner share of the you know, Larry OB at this point.
I mean, it's not that big though.
I don't know.
The playoff share.
What is the playoff share?
I have to double check. I had it when
it probably gets around to about $1 million, I guess.
Okay. But that's what I mean though. The winner of the cup cannot get more than the winning.
I don't know.
Larry O'Brien.
Yeah. Again, like these are three guys who.
Sure.
Literally, I thought of this off the top of my head yesterday.
No, I like this idea.
But
it
really does come from my idea, my sense that by overemphasizing some regular season games, your other regular season games, you're just proving the point. Yeah. It doesn't, you know, Sunday against Detroit is it's not that important. Otherwise, it'd be in season.
Yeah, so
that's important enough for all three of us to be there, though. 4 p.m., baby.
It's pretty important for the Raptors, too, to maybe get a win.
Yeah.
It would be very important.
So there is a bonus pool right now for each place you finish in the conference and then making it successive rounds, best overall record. But the NBA champion had an estimated $4.8 million to split up between the team last year. And that's plus their regular season. So the Nuggets also had the best record, right?
Yes.
So they would have been and finished first in the conference. So they would have had like close to $8 million to pay out between their players by the end.
Oh, there's built-in bonuses for winning the conference?
Yeah. Each place, and they're not huge. Like once you divide them by 18 guys, and this is how they get split up. When I talked to the Raptors about it after their championship, there is some like player input in how that gets split up because you could either go
Kyle was like, that's my money.
Yeah, but I remember talking to Jordan Lloyd, and he was the only two-way on the team, and he's like, I don't know, I'm the first. That was the first year of two-ways. Yeah. No two-way had ever won a championship before.
Right.
Chris Boucher had the year before, but he was no longer with the Warriors when they won the championship. So Jordan Lloyd was the first two-way to get a ring, and he was like, I don't know if they're going to give me a championship chair. You'd have to ask 250
Kyle. Optimum points.
Yeah, you'd have to ask Kyle and Kawhi if I'm getting a piece.
Oh man!
But I do think that's the main thing, Grange. Is it's going to have to be spicy at some point.
If you want it to pop, you gotta make it pop.
Yeah, but I am enjoying them. I actually am enjoying the game so far. They do seem a little bit more competitive, with a little bit more stakes on the line.
But I told you my theory too. The bright colors are making everyone feel intense emotions.
Yeah, well,
Darko made a really interesting point the other day, and this is interesting in the context of the whole timeout controversy in Boston last week.
Right.
And I'd never heard this before, but he said in cup competition sometimes, so if you've got a home and home total score thing going or whatever it might be, and you're, as an example, up down 3 and the other team has the ball, you might not foul in the first leg of that because
aggregate matters.
Because you don't want to put them on the line. They make 2, you lose the game, now you're down 5. Better off you just, you're down by 3 and you live to fight another day. Little things like that. And again, in the context of NBA manners, if you're up by 10 with 2 minutes left, well, you better try and get up by 12.
Well,
by 12, you better get up by 14.
We experienced it with FIBA in the summer, right? You point differential matters.
In FIBA, everyone knows.
Yeah.
Here, it's wait a second. Why? That whole thing where they stand around, dribble the ball, and then hand it to the guy.
That would not happen.
In theory, that shouldn't be happening. So a little stuff like that.
That is a good thing, too, I think. That is a good thing because, more basketball is good.
Yeah. Like I said, it has a chance to be fun. And the other thing, too, is as this unfolds, and if you're Indiana or Oklahoma City or any other secondary market that's actually Orlando, that's actually got a pretty good team. Those guys should be motivated. Here's a chance for you guys to finally get some attention, and as fans, the best outcome for this would be an Indiana versus Denver maybe kind of thing where you have a real established team everyone knows versus one of these up-and-coming teams. That would also add some juice to it, too.
Now that we're talking about it, I do want to... Because obviously the team side, the incentive for the team is they're increasing TV revenue benefits all the teams, right? So that's the big thing. But I do wonder, if you had it wrapped close to the trade deadline and the prize on the team side was a certain salary cap exception or something like that, nothing huge, you can't take on a max guy, but we just saw
to entice Dan Tolzman to take this thing more seriously.
I was actually trying to entice Daniel Tice, who's getting, you maybe jump the buyout market that way, and a team has a small salary cap exception so it's basically so that there's a way that it also feeds into your potential in the playoffs.
Yeah, right. Makes sense
as well.
Yeah.
All right, so tonight Raptors open the in-season tournament.
We tried our best not talking about Raptors
against Boston.
We tried our very best.
Strange, whether in-season tournament or just based on how they reacted to Joe Mazzulla at the end of last game, I'm not saying expecting anything like physicality or anything like that, but having been punked like that by a division rival and now you're at home and it's a special night, we're going to learn something about this Raptors team and how they come out, right?
Yeah, I think so. I just hope you don't learn that, wow, these guys are really under-talented, compared to the elite teams, because that's certainly how it looked in Boston. That's how it looked the last 3 times now they've played Boston, where you've got one team that looks, overdue to win a title and one that's kind of pretending. I would agree, Blake, that if you're not in this situation based on what happened in Boston, both getting your ass kicked, both having, manufactured, if you want, or recognize some kind of slight with that late timeout and referee's challenge from Mazzulla, and you don't bring it. We've seen this team first quarters and first halves just not show up. So I would think if they're kind of doing their normal first quarter thing, I mean, they're going to have to answer for that. I'd be a lot more confident of their ability to respond if they didn't have OG Anunoby with stitches in his finger. So like they're up against it. I mean, I will see what Boston brings, but just being at that game in Boston, I'm sure it looked the same on TV. You're like, this is, there's one tier of NBA going on right now, and the Raptors aren't in it.
And the Raptors were coming off 2 really great wins.
The thing about that trip and having get on it was that trip was set up for success. Like you had multiple days off between games.
Okay.
The travel was easy. There were off days. They were healthy. Like they should have rolled into that game on Saturday in Boston, and that should have been as good an effort as you can have.
Boston was on back-to-back too.
Boston was on the second night it was a home back-to-back, but still, that to me was I was kind of expecting, if I was a betting guy, I would have taken Raptors in the spread. Like I was like, they're going to come out and surprise some people. All these things are lining up for them to have a great performance, and they weren't even in it. So we'll see. But it's a long way of saying I think Boston's really, really good. And to your point, if you can't manufacture something based on what's been happening here the last little bit to bring at least your best effort, then there's going to be some more questions.
Well, the Raptors are 8.5-point dogs tonight, so the market is not super. But there's also this. So Gary Trent Jr. is probable. Okay. OG is doubtful. The 3 two-ways are with the 905. Koloko remains out. Thad Young is out due to an illness. Otto Porter is out due to personal reasons. So they're pretty thinned out. But on the other side, Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis are questionable. So this is a hard one to read at this time of day.
Yeah, I think I know what the ending might be though. Yeah, I guess to that point, the Celtics have the luxury where if one of their stars isn't playing or if they're even absent, they have other guys who can step up.
They got 4 studs.
Derek White, even, who's not one of those 4, had like a 27-point game that was really, really huge for them just this past week.
Drew Holiday had what was the last time against the Raptors what was the equivalent of like a 40-point defensive performance.
Yeah, Drew Holiday's like, I don't even need to do any of this offense stuff, Like I'm just gonna make life miserable for the Raptors. I think on the flip side, and we only have a minute for this really, or 2 minutes for this, but the Raptors can't afford for Pascal to be so up and down. So I want to ask you just what you're seeing in terms of, we are seeing an all-star performance every other game, but not consistently enough, and the Raptors don't have that quality at depth to replicate that scoring anywhere else.
Yeah, and everyone knows it, right? I mean, Pascal, when I was talking to him when we were in Dallas, he kind of said, look, if I'm not good, this team's not good. And that's exactly the point you're making. Went out a huge night that night, and he's I guess what's interesting is can you crack the code as to why him and Scotty are taking turns? And is there a way that they can kind of play with each other rather than kind of your turn, my turn? And I'm not talking in terms of possession by possession. I'm just talking like just how they integrate, but I think it comes down to they want to breathe the same air, right? They are at their best in roughly the same places, attacking roughly the same way, and does the way the rest of the roster is built around them accommodate that? And
that is the big thing, because in theory, 2 big forwards who can get into the paint and exploit mismatches, like that's every team would love to have that.
It works for Boston,
but you also have a center who doesn't like Porzingis versus Poeltl in terms of how those pieces fit together.
Well, the other element too is, and I was thinking about this, is Poeltl, like. Yeah, but when they traded for Poeltl, they had Fred VanVleet. Mm-hmm. Now you've got Poeltl and Dennis Schroeder, all these guys in their own lane are really good NBA players. It's just the mix. And so, I know, Blake, you wrote that thing about the Siakam post-ups. Well, how are you going 0.5 offense if your most reliable way to get your best player involved is attacking in a post-up? So,
yeah. Well, that's one.
That's why you got to be a little pragmatic, like what works for your team and versus what you necessarily want to do. I think the most important thing is what works for your team is what I'm trying to say. But Grange, appreciate you. I will see you down at Scotiabank later today for the IST, and we're going to take this break. I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Win Lou. Continue to be joined by co-host Blake Murphy, and we are joined for the third segment here by Tim McMahon. We had Bon Temps on last week, I believe. So we had to get the better half, or the better third, I suppose. But Tim, how you doing, man?
Man, I tell you what, I certainly appreciate being considered a significant upgrade over Tim Bontemps. I hate to follow his footsteps in anything, though.
I mean, look, we aim for objectivity here, and objectively, yeah, this is a Bontemps upgrade. Like, the Celtics are in town, and everyone gets annoyed of the Celtics because of the coverage and stuff, but really, people are sleeping on the 9-2 Celtics because, you know, they got to hear it from Bontemps right now.
Well, I think the Celtics have plenty of people talking about him, so they're in okay shape there.
Yeah, there's the whole Ringer Network. All right. Anyway, sorry. Sorry, I didn't say that out loud. So we wanted to talk in-season tournament impressions with you. We want to talk Mavericks with you. We want to talk a lot of the Western Conference. Because we talked a lot of in-season tournament, let's wait until maybe the second half of this segment to actually talk about let's chat about the teams that you're really, really familiar with. I wanted to start with the Mavericks, who are sitting right behind Denver right now, second in the West at 9-3. Is this for real? Like, I mean, I don't know. I guess the game that we saw when they played against the Raptors handled them kind of easily, but they were also a little banged up in that game. Where are you at with the Mavs? Are they as good as their record is right now?
I mean, listen, the Mavs have had the third softest schedule in the league, so certainly there's been some fortunate scheduling. Offensively, they are elite. They're going to be one of the best offensive teams in the league as long as they have Luka and Kyrie. Like, any issues of chemistry and all that kind of stuff, like those guys are hooping. And honestly, Kyrie got up to a kind of slow start, and they're still second in the league in offense. They're not a better defensive team. They're still, bottom 5 in the league right now defensively. And so I don't think it's for real as far as them being a legitimate contender. But I think the Mavericks have a chance to be a top 16 in the West for sure.
In terms of their aggression this year, obviously they pushed a lot of chips into acquire and then re-sign Kyrie, chips as far as opportunity cost, especially.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a window here where, Kyrie is 31 and who knows how long it'll last where he's as locked in as this. Luka is obviously locked up for a long time, but there seems to be an itchiness here. And they have emphasized having young guys in the second unit or even starting in Derek Lively. They want that second wave of guys, but how patient is this front office going to be if February rolls around and they are in the mix for a top 4 spot in the West, but there is still kind of that hole on the defensive side?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they tried to make some upgrades, and I think did with Grant Williams. Derek Lively is starting as a teenage center. The thing that really targeted and didn't get done this summer was a center. They had conversations about DeAndre Ayton. They had conversations about Clint Capella. Didn't get either of those done. They didn't draft Derek Lively to be the starting center, but at this point, he's shown so much potential and honestly been much more ready than they expected. I think it'd be a mistake to trade to bring somebody to start over him because ultimately I think he might be the guy who determines Luka's at least medium-term happiness. And, you said Luka's locked up for a while. He's not locked up. He's under contract, and there's a big difference in the NBA. Having said all that, I've said this many, many times, I don't think Luka will look for a reason to leave Dallas. I think he would have to basically be smacking him in the face, and obviously that's why a repeat of last year would have been an absolute crisis for the Mavericks. That's history, and they are off to a much better start this season for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, bringing all these young pieces as well, I think is I didn't quite appreciate that they had gone this youth route a little bit, at least with the supporting pieces around, Luka, who is quite young himself, and also Kyrie. But the guys like Grant Williams are fitting in nicely. Derek Lively obviously is doing well. Okay, over in Houston, I wanted to check in because our old pal Fred VanVleet has obviously switched sides and gone over there, gotten a huge pay raise, but it's coincided with a change in the Houston Rockets. When I watch Houston Rockets now, they're not the incompetent Houston Rockets as I've seen in many, many previous matchups. They've also had a bit of a soft schedule as well, or at least they've missed, some key matchups in their opponents. But what are you seeing from the Houston Rockets right now?
Listen, their investments in Canadian prospects or products rather, Fred VanVleet and Canada native Dylan Brooks, so far, they paid a lot of money for both of them. So far, though, they've done exactly what the Rockets were hoping, and that's come in and not just raise the floor and make them where they would at least be respectable right away after obviously they were, I mean, it was a rough rebuild the last few years. But help in the development of these young kids who, they hope evolve into stars. And, we're talking about obviously Jabari Smith Jr. and Jalen Green. Amen Thompson's been hurt. But then the best of that group was the guy who wasn't a top 4 pick, and that's Alperen Şengün. When you have Van Vliet, who's obviously been a championship player, been a leader, takes all that stuff very seriously. And then Dylan Brooks, does he say crazy things? Yeah. And, is he going to cause some confrontations? Cojones check guys on occasion? Absolutely. But listen, man, the dude competes, right? And he works.
Yeah.
And to Ime Udoka's credit, he's not taking crazy shots in Houston. As much as like all the poke the bear stuff blew up in his face and, kind of the talking for attention became a little bit much in Memphis. The reason they'd been looking to move on from him was the shot selection and the, kind of the discomfort, like contentiousness as far as him settling into the number 4, number 5 guy offensively. He's doing that in Houston, just shooting it really well. But, it's that's the stuff that really ran its course in Memphis before the bear poking.
So that's obviously a credit to Brooks, first of all, who was tremendous for us as Team Canada in the summer
Jordy
as well.
Fernandez,
yeah,
Canada national team head coach. He had Dylan in a very, very similar role, and I have to say the buy-in for him for his country was great. We didn't know if that was going to carry over to the NBA, but I want to give Jordy some love there as well.
Jordy deserves some credit. Ime Udoka obviously deserves credit there as well. When it comes to I'm surprised, but it makes more sense to me that you could add a couple veterans and effort and scheme your way to a really good defense. The offense being above league average slightly so far is what has caught me off guard a little bit. And I know there's some hot 3-point shooting there. But, Tim, what do you make of the strides that Şengün has taken this year and maybe how close he is to being able to operate as that kind of key number 1 hub for a team?
Well, and the biggest question with him was, could he play defensively? Could he stay on the floor for starter type minutes, play against starters and closing lineups defensively? And give Udoka credit for making that happen. But look, this wasn't the Rockets' plan. Like I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Rockets thought this guy was going to be a star because they threw a bunch of money at Brook Lopez, moved contracts because they thought it was a done deal, and then got ditched at the altar. So I think Brook Lopez ultimately did the Rockets a favor because, look, is Şengün going to be like a legit number 1, superstar type of guy? I don't know about that, but I think you could run offense through him and score a lot of points.
Yeah, the matchup between him and Jokic was really fun to watch. These 2 really skilled, slow plotting guys, and I'm happy that those guys still have a place in the league because it is.
I like I like Şengün. He does the Dirk, but in slow motion, where he just kind of starts tilting back on one leg and then releases that mid ranger. He is fun to watch though.
Yeah, he does the year 20 Dirk. But he's in year 4,
exactly.
3. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, Ime has done a really good job with this group, and I don't want to look ahead to the coach of the year kind of thing already, but it does seem like, especially now that he's had 2 opportunities to be a head coach, first in Boston and now in Houston as well. Like it does seem to be the carrying, enduring trait for him is that he is just able to really get the group to buy in and be really focused and locked in on defense. And, if you could do it with the Houston Rockets with any team, I mean, like I know they brought in some veterans and all that kind of stuff, but it's unbelievable that this team is actually guarding at a high of a level. So what is that? I mean, I don't know. What's your impression of Ime just on that front?
I mean, yeah, listen, his teams clearly are going to be tough and they are going to compete. And then, that's the thing for getting Van Vliet and Brooks. It's so important is they help Ime Udoka set that tone and like maintain that this is the expectation. This is not just the expectation, but like this is the demand. And, obviously 1 year in Boston, the finals run, And, 10 games in, it looks like a miracle working in Houston. Now, listen, I don't think the Rockets are going to be a playoff team this year. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. But like I said, as far as establishing that culture, which is huge in the development of those young dudes, no doubt that's being done.
Yeah. Well, another team that you spent a lot of time covering, well, at least in years past. I don't know how often you'll be going to Memphis this year. So preseason, we were doing, over-unders, classic kind of podcast thing. And I had it as a lock that the Grizzlies are going to be over, I think, 51.5 wins. Maybe it was a little lower than that. Maybe it was like 48 or something. But I just thought, they're going to be still really great on defense, and that alone is going to carry you to a lot of it. Is there any hope at all left for this lock up on the Grizzlies? Because when I watch the Grizzlies, that team does not look good at all, man.
Listen, can I manufacture a case for some hope that they could still be a playoff team? Can still get to the play-in? Sure. 50, you said 51.5?
I maybe the line must have been. I think it was like maybe much lower than that. Otherwise, I don't know why I would have locked it in. But yeah, regardless.
I'll tell you this: I was talking to an executive with another team in the West, and he said he's got a little, inter-office side bet. He took Grizzlies under 35.5.
Whoa! This had to be after the Steven Adams news, right?
I think it was. Okay. And again, this is just a bet between buddies.
Yeah.
But that's how low.
Goodness.
A guy who, obviously nobody's right all the time, but that's how low a guy who knows what he's talking about was on the Grizzlies. Man, we just talked about how much Dillon Brooks has meant to the Rockets. He was a huge part of what they did well in Memphis. I mean, he is one of, if not the best wing defender in the league, and they've missed that for sure.
It's a tough one. Wanted to pivot elsewhere in the Western Conference here on the latest Hoop Collective. You guys did most players who deserve more recognition, not most underrated, but players who everyone should be watching a little bit more. Now, those were largely in the Eastern Conference, but there was a Western Conference one in De'Aaron Fox. Sacramento, kind of a fun story last year as this team that overperformed and reached, at that time, a record offensive efficiency. They're 6-4 right now. De'Aaron Fox is such a blast to watch. How do you think people in Sacramento, or how do you think we should look back on that Halliburton-Sabonis swap, given how good both players have been for their new teams and how good Fox has been alongside Sabonis?
Yeah, and look, I killed the trade at the time. I thought it was absolute robbery by the Pacers, and the Pacers are still doing backflips about it, clearly. But I did underestimate how much that, how well Sabonis could play for Sacramento, and that partnership. And I understand the logic of, hey, De'Aaron Fox is a lead guard. Halliburton's not going to be able to play that role here. This guy's a good fit. And it's worked. Sacramento doesn't have to apologize for it. It's worked out. They broke a 16-year playoff drought by being a 3 seed. When you're the front office that does that, you don't have to say sorry for letting Halliburton go. But man, Halliburton's a stud, and I thought he was a stud then, and he's honestly better than I thought. So I stand by my opinion that the Pacers got the best of the deal by a long shot.
Yeah, it's a win-win, but one team definitely won more than the other. I'm pretty sure.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah. By the way, Halliburton, just watching him, I mean, it's. I don't know. The Pacers are definitely my League Pass favorites. Number one, because they're always on League Pass. There are no regional.
Have League Pass to see them.
Yeah, there's no regional restrictions or anything like that. You could just watch them on League Pass 82 games a year. But when I watch Halliburton, I'm like, this is my favorite point guard passer since Steve Nash, and. He has a different trait of sort of how he plays, and there was definitely more athleticism than Steve, but the creativity, the little deceptions that he put into the game. I mean, it's definitely a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun right now.
Well, plus,
yeah, go ahead.
Plus, I was going to say, you watch the Pacers, you get to see somebody in another team score 40 or 52.
Yeah, the over on Pacers games is free money as of right now, unless it's like 270 or something. Anyway, something less fun, the Clippers.
Yeah.
So we have the news today, Russell Westbrook putting his hand up to come off the bench. It's reported everywhere. All right. Everyone is very clear that this was Russ's idea. He should get the credit for coming off the bench. Is this a solution here? Like, do they just need to sort of balance it out? I think Terrence Mann's going to be in his place, a guy who is more used to being, I suppose, a role player. Although I feel like Russ has been playing a good role for the Clippers since he's joined there, at least before Harden came around. But yeah, is this a step in the right direction for the Clippers, who remain in search of their first win post Harden?
Well, this had to be Russ's idea for it to have any chance to work, or at least it has to be sold as Russ's idea. But they had to break up him and Harden. Those guys are not compatible. They were issues with their compatibility in Houston, and that's when Harden was one of the best one-on-one players in the world. You can't. He's a pick and roll guy who needs a big now, and Russ can't be the third or fourth offensive option in the lineup where that's happening. So this had to happen. I am skeptical about it being smooth though, because it's not just, hey, Russ, you're not starting. I don't think he's going to close. He has not closed these last couple of games, and there's still a lot of potential for fireworks there. And honestly, if you're Russ, that trio had great numbers. So if he wanted to be upset about it, he could be. They talked to him about this deal before he was on board, yada, yada, yada. It's a move that had to happen, and I'm skeptical about the way that Russ will handle it, just based on, obviously, his history and understanding of the NBA ego.
We'll see how that works out. They got to get to the playoffs before we can see how it works in the playoffs. They're certainly not headed to the postseason version of the in-season tournament. They're already 0-2, so they're dead in the water there. Tim, we did want to ask you a little bit about the in-season tournament. Raptors get underway for their portion of it tonight. Yeah, they're the last team to get involved. But I don't really care that much about your opinion. Well, I do care about your opinions on the in-season tournament overall. But you guys revealed today that you're doing a live hoop collective down in Vegas. That's the opportunity for sports media people to go to Vegas in the middle of the winter. That's the headline item here for the in-season tournament, right?
Hey, I'm all for it. I hope the thing is a huge success. I do think it got a little jolt of interest, excitement. We can talk about the courts being a marketing gimmick. Duh. That's the point. I think it's been a successful marketing gimmick. But, we talked about this on the pod the other day. If it's say like a Halliburton or, either guys we just talked about, they're on that stage and, gets a chance for the league to showcase some young players like that, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I mean, look, listen, I think for the Raptors, it's funny because partially because they're starting so late, but it's like if they lose this game tonight against the Celtics, who I think won their first one by 14, it's like you're basically already eliminated from potentially winning your pool. Now, of course, you get a wild card or whatever, but obviously you're trying to win your pool, and that's got to be a huge adjustment for NBA fans. It's just like you lose 1-2 games, you're actually done. I think this is the biggest adjustment.
Well, yeah, right, but they're also regular season games, so it's not like this is everything. But they count toward the. If this was separate from the regular season, it'd be a total disaster. The fact that it's a little section of the regular season, you care about the games maybe a little bit more than your typical regular season game, or maybe not, but there's no downside.
Yeah. Well, on the subject of Vegas, at least, we had Adam Silver on the show yesterday, which is still blowing my mind, and we asked him about.
Now, those are the kind of footsteps I can follow.
Yeah. Well, listen, once we have Adam, we got to maintain a high standard. We can't exactly just invite Bontemps back. Sorry, Bontemps. Exactly. We probably will invite you back as well. But we will not tell you about the slander. But anyway, on the subject of expansion, right? We asked him about it because I think he brought up, just mentioned that Vancouver and Montreal had reached out to the league and sort of were kind of interested. So we were trying to ask him from a Canadian perspective. But his answers overall, he kind of just shut down any idea of expansion, which I was a little surprised by. Maybe it's just we've been hearing about the league wants to take care of the TV deal and then they want to do 32 teams with Vegas and Seattle. But yeah, I mean, I guess he can't publicly comment on that until everything is fully in line. But is that what is to be expected with the league? Is that Vegas will be one of the new teams coming up in 3-4 years?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if it's any scenario other than what you just said. Seattle will get the Sonics back, and Vegas will have, the to be determines. And obviously the league has done a ton of business in Vegas, and now that basically they're business partners with all the casinos essentially. Those concerns are long out the window. So yeah, I mean, you can play, you have nice, pleasant small talk with the people in other cities, but it's going to be Vegas and Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, it feels that way, and we can already start doing our expansion protection lists and stuff like that in theory. But yeah, I mean, look, there's a potential maybe more than that. Maybe he's just, stoking the fires. Maybe he's being honest, first of all, but also, you want markets to think there's a potential chance for it down the line because it keeps bidding strong and it keeps franchise fees strong and things like that. Tim, one thing that came up in kicking that around and talking after, could you see a scenario where the league ever expanded beyond 32?
I mean, sure. Down the road, I would say the pool of players is probably expanding just because it's such a worldwide game now. And these billionaires like to become, they like to stack billions. So if it makes business sense down the road, I think certainly it's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, Tim, good luck with the live event in Vegas. What's the venue? Like, what's the venue size? What do you know the details of this? Like, how many people are you trying to have at this thing?
I think it's Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club at the Link. I think it's like
big deal.
300.
300.
No, but it's not like a huge place, though, right? I think I don't quote me on that, but it's in hundreds and not thousands.
Got you. No, that's exciting. Not to brag, but we've done some live shows as well, and I think I'm just bragged. Look, I'm still around the show. We do live shows, all this other stuff, whatever. But my only advice that you didn't ask for is, just get ready to take like 200 selfies. All right, because this is what these live events are for. They kind of want to hear you guys talk. They maybe want to hear a couple stories, but realistically, they want to take a photo of you. So just get ready for that. That's all.
Well, that's the part that Wendy's looking forward to the most.
Yeah, that's why he does. How much time does Windhorst put on his hair? By the way, I don't know if you know that, but
I think he's got it down to a science. I think he's pretty. One thing I know about Wendy, he finds a way to be efficient.
Yeah. All right. Well, obviously, yeah, you can catch Tim on the Hoop Collective, #1 basketball pod for me. Besides Raptor Show, but whatever, all the caveats. But seriously, it's genuinely my favorite basketball pod. So appreciate you for joining the show, but also for making lots of great content.
Hey, we'll take #2. I appreciate it, fellas.
All right, Tim McMahon, ESPN. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah,
great guy. I still have yet to meet him in person.
Me too, actually, which is a little odd considering I spent a couple of years fully on the road.
How was that, by the way?
I miss it a lot.
You miss being on the road?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's obviously you.
It sounds exhausting, man. When I traveled for 2019,
at some points it is, but I didn't travel for 41 games. Like Kareen and I would split about 25, and then so I don't know. It was 4 road trips over the course of the season. So think of it as I don't know, like a 1 5 or 6 day trip a month even.
Yeah.
It's cool. You get to see other cities and see writer friends and other friends in other places. I also think as we reach an era where fewer and fewer media outlets travel their people, there's even more value to those conversations you just have on the road. A pregame locker room that nobody else is in, a postgame locker room where, there's not a lot going on there. So yeah, I mean, I missed that element of it as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like that time we went down to practice in training camp, and it was me and you, and I think Savannah was there too. But it was nice.
But that's really what it's like on the road. And look,
I guess that's why you do it. You do it for the access.
Yeah, and
that's the whole point.
There was a thinking at one time in the industry where, and I'm not that old, even though this sounds like an old head story, but part of why you went on the road trip was to play defense, because if the Toronto Star has something and the Toronto Sun doesn't off of a road game, then one or the other look bad, or you didn't have that. It was kind of a mutually assured thing where if one travel, you both have to travel because you don't want the other one to have something that you don't. Now that's not really the case at all. There's not nearly as much travel around the beat or overall. But yeah, I would think there's even more value to being the few people on the road now. Yeah. I'm getting the wrap it up, B.
it's all good because I love talking just behind the scenes media. You know what I mean? Like I want to ask more of these seasoned reporters, veteran reporters.
Oh, my mic is on.
Questions. All right, Alex. We know we got to wrap it up. All right, we're going to take this break,
guys.
We're taking this break. I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. When we come back, Alex Wong returns, Blake dips off, and we have another guest coming in. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Liu. I'm joined for segment 4 by producer and co-host Alex Wong, who has finally sobered up after his book event and karaoke last night. Great performances.
We forgot to do Pitbull last night. Time of our lives.
Yeah.
For karaoke.
All right. Well,
yeah,
we'll probably do karaoke a million more times together, so we'll have lots of times for that. But right now, we are joined by Souchi Terada of MassLive, a.k.a. the Boston Will Lou. Got the split screen going. What's going on, man?
What's up? It's good to be here. The split screen looks great.
Man, I'm in a Will Lou sandwich right now, basically. This is a Will Lou sandwich. Holy. Now, for people that want to know a little behind the scenes, oh, man, I can't look at the screen right now. I'm sorry. I gotta just look at Will. I'm sorry, Souchi. But I told you guys to coordinate your fits, and you both have on a soccer kit. I did tell you guys to coordinate kind of the facial hair situation. How's that? What's the review?
I can't get on his level, man.
Okay.
I can't get on his level.
Okay. Anyways, I know you guys got to link up in Vegas. Before we talk about Raptors Celtics and all that stuff tonight, Souchi, what was it like finally connecting with Will in person this summer?
It was great. I did not expect it. I think I was just waiting for like the game to be over and the Celtics were gonna play. And then my beat partner, he pointed down over, he was just like, hey, is that your doppelganger? And I'm like, I think so. So we went to go say what's up.
Who said this? Gary Washburn? Was it Gary Washburn?
No, it wasn't.
It was not Gary.
It was not Gary.
It was my beat partner, Brian Robb. He's
Brian. Guy. Yeah, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
another
awesome.
friend of Michael Pina. So yeah, it was really cool though. It was funny though. Will was like, we don't really look that alike, but I agree. But
I don't know for this segment right now. You know what I mean? The way your hair is tied up is similar to mine. We both got thick rimmed black glasses on.
I got the glasses just for this.
Oh, yeah, you did, and we did coordinate fits. I did tell you to put on. Or I don't know. I guess we were going to put on a similar kind of fit. But
yeah, this is what producers do, man.
Adidas. This is a France kit, but it's also kind of like Japanese inspired as well.
Oh, okay.
Design. That's the closest one I had to a Japanese kit.
Well, we started today's show by having Gary Trent Jr. in an interview rate Will Lou's fits. I think next time we got to sneak in a Boston Will Lou fit in there.
Okay.
And see what Gary thinks about
that.
it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We had one more I guess Asian question before we got to basketball.
Karaoke is not Asian; it's worldwide.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, we had a great time at karaoke last night with our friends, and want to know I've got my own selection of songs. Will likes his little Fergie "Big Girls Don't Cry" situation. Like if when you finally come to Toronto later this year, because unfortunately you couldn't join us, for tonight's game. And we hit up karaoke in Chinatown in Toronto. Like, what are you picking as your first song?
Yes, I'm actually pretty terrible at karaoke, but I'm a big sing-along Taylor Swift guy.
Oh,
so I'm not a singer.
Okay.
So as a result, I always pick her bangers, and people always sing along with me, and it kind of drowns out my own voice.
Yeah, we hit that. That "You Belong With Me" last night, and it was,
exactly.
It was
yes,
yeah.
I was thinking that one. Love Story. Shake It Off is a good one. One of those ones. Yeah. I remember for my 22nd birthday, my favorite college bar has karaoke every Thursday through Saturday night. So we went out, and there's a video of me. I'll have to send it to you because I just remember that of me just belting out "Party in the USA."
Oh, we did that last night too.
That's another one.
That one's a great one too.
All right, let me check when the Celtics are coming back in later this season.
Well, that'll be the most fun part about the Celtics coming to Toronto because it won't be the game for the Raptors' perspective. Sorry, guys.
The Adam Silver era is over. Welcome to the Real Raptor Show. What else, Will?
What else was I going to say? No, I mean, I was going to say that was the big cultural difference because karaoke at a bar is totally different. We're not talking about going up to a stage and in a pub and someone's singing Wonderwall. Like, we're talking about in a private room.
Yeah.
And they bring you $20 bottles of soju. Or in this case, it's surprisingly expensive, $40 bottles of soju.
Thanks for paying last night, guys.
No problem, guys. I could just, get some cash back would be great. I don't know if I got $80 worth of karaoke in for myself personally, but Anyway, no one's here to hear about that. I guess everyone's here to talk about the Boston Celtics. And look, we know about the stars, right? We know about the stars, but I was going through your timeline, and I saw something where you are supposedly telling a story about the Hauser brothers, the Sam Hauser brothers. What is going on? Alex was so upset when he saw this in the rundown. So please upset him further.
Oh man, so Sam Hauser obviously plays for the Celtics. He's probably like the 7th guy right now off the bench after the top 6 here. He's been playing really well. He's been shooting the lights out of the ball, but I was impressed with how he's just been really good on both ends of the court. Like you just see basically, right, like the 6'7", 6'8" white guy. So a lot of teams try to isolate him, and this goes back to last year. And he's actually held up pretty well. Like I'm not gonna go out and say he's like this great perimeter defender, but 6'9" wingspan, I think. Like he's held his own. But the fun fact is, and why I spoke about this on the podcast yesterday, and I've talked to Sam about it, but his brother played college basketball at my school or alma mater, I guess, at Michigan State. And so I talked to him like a handful of times last year about it. So aside from the Hauser parents, I think I watched every minute, every second of the Hauser brothers. But yeah. Last season. So
what was his brother's game like? I don't want to stereotype, so I'm just gonna assume he wasn't a good shooter and maybe a big rebounder.
No, he was an awesome shooter.
Yeah, of course
we actually miss him a lot this year. Yeah, so a lot of you guys don't know this, but I'm a big Michigan State sicko. I just love.
I'm aware. I started following you on socials, man. Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah. So I was actually
You're under surveillance.
I saw you in Japan this summer. Don't worry about it, Souchi.
Where was he in Japan?
I tracked his every meal, man. He saw some family there. He was up in this tower for a little bit.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
This does sound like Asia, yep.
See, I had a lot of Michigan State gear on, but it was actually funny. I was at the game. They played Duke on Tuesday, and Jason Tatum obviously played for Duke, and he had one of his buddies from Duke, and he talked a little trash to me because I flew from Chicago to Philly like early in the year, so I made it to shoot around. So the Duke assistant coach started talking because I was wearing my little Spartan head. He's like, "Hey man, how was the game last night?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm on like 4 hours of sleep. Like, please leave me alone." So yeah, that's why I was talking about Sam Hauser and Joey Hauser though, which is
Joey
Hauser. Yes.
Was that on the NBC primetime lineup in the 90s, man?
I know he would instantly be the best shooter on the Raptors. Joey
Hauser.
I think he's a free agent, so I think he is available to be picked up. He was on a 2-way deal with the Jazz, and I think he got waived.
Oh, for real? Oh, wow. Okay.
I think so. He shot like 48% from 3 last year. College line's a little bit different.
You know way too much about Joey Hauser, bro.
Hey man, like I said, I'm a huge Michigan State sicko. It's hilarious that we're talking about this right now, though.
This is the number one thing people want to know about the Boston Celtics. What else do people want to know about the Boston Celtics? Joe Mazzulla leveling up. It seems like Joe Mazzulla is public enemy number 1 here in Toronto. We have Dennis Schroeder on the show every week, and we asked Dennis about it. That's what the whole show is now. It's just one giant flex. But like, Dennis is on the show. We asked him about it. He said it was disrespectful that he challenged the call. Up 27. I'm sure in Boston people were loving that. That I think he came to the defense of Luke Cornett or something. I don't know. But it seems like, at least in Boston's perspective, like Joe Mazzulla is leveling up. So what does leveling up look like for Joe Mazzulla tangibly?
Leveling up looks like, at least for the media, he's much more, I remember, I think, Alex, you asked this on the podcast last year, and you were like, how's it covering Joe Mazzulla? Because he had like a weird clip after, I think it was like game 1 against the Sixers. And he was like, game 2, he's like, how's that for adjustments or something? So he's been a lot more, I feel like, secure. Yeah, he's been a lot more secure when it comes to media. I think he's a lot more comfortable, and you kind of see that translate onto the court. Like last year, I thought the defense was generally pretty vanilla. Like they were still pretty good, but this year they're kind of mixed against and stuff, a little bit more press. You're adding a guy like Porzingis in. Like they're still, I believe, number 2 in defensive rating right now. So they're still really good. Like I was a little skeptical how that was going to look, especially when you lose a guy like Marcus Smart, because Smart, for all his faults, like he was awesome on the defensive end. And part of the reason why he won Defensive Player of the Year as a guard was because he was such a big communicator, and that was part of the narrative. So you lose that, I was kind of like, what's going on here? But you add a guy like Drew Holiday in, you got Porzingis playing really well as a rim defender, and all of a sudden you look awesome. And I think Joe should get a lot of credit. Like you can tell he's 10 times more comfortable this year going in, with it being his second year, but also he got like a full summer to like actually know what the expectations for the season were. Like, right, like a week before training camp, like he was a low-level second row assistant coach, and all of a sudden he's coaching one of the best teams in basketball. So in terms of leveling up, like I just think you see a much more secure person, and that's translated really everywhere.
Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense because you don't fully appreciate just how young he is as well. Like there was
What was this, Joe Mazzulla propaganda?
No, there was just that when he made that timeout and the Raptors went over to him, and then he like chatted with Thad Young and Garrett Temple, and I'm like, Thad Young's 9 days older than Joe Mazzulla, and then Garrett Temple's like 2 years older than Joe Mazzulla. Like the Raptors have 2 guys on the team that are older than the opposing coach. Now I feel like
saying we got two Joe Mazzullas on our bench.
I'm just saying, like they're right there. But yeah, I guess he is leveling up, which is good. I mean, look, listen, adding a lot of talent as well is going to be huge. But in terms of a guy who's been around for a long time, and I know he's probably a local cult hero at this point, especially when he plays the Philadelphia 76ers, is Al Horford. Why is he so successful against Joel Embiid? Like, is he just taking over like Marc Gasol's, responsibility as the caretaker, let's just say, so to speak, for young Joel?
Yeah, so funny that you bring up Al. So obviously Al had an awesome game against the Sixers. Talked a lot of trash to Embiid. He is also 2 years older than Joe. So it's just fascinating thing, right?
No, but Souchi, we saw in the playoffs last year, there were times when Al Horford was leading the huddles.
Yeah.
Like legit, right? So yeah. So yeah, man, Joe Mazzulla's getting outranked everywhere.
Yo, that's wild. The funny thing is also Joe Mazzulla played against Jimmy Butler like multiple times in college.
Oh yeah, in his baggy shorts. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's only 35 years old. Like Al has 2 years on him. It's not like that's pretty significant, right? And it's just kind of a weird dynamic there. But yeah, I don't know what it is about Al and playing the Sixers. Like every time he's in Philadelphia, he gets booed like relentlessly. Right. Like they do Jason Tatum sucks during the starting lineup or whatever.
Okay.
But for Al Horford, like there's like vitriol. There's a little bit of like social media aspect to that. I know
his sisters.
I know Sixers. Yeah, I know his Sixers fans hate his sister. She talks a lot of trash.
Oh, this is Anna Horford, right?
Anna Horford. Yeah. So I think that's part of it. I've seen part of it.
Do you know who they should? You know who Sixers fans should be mad at? Elton Brand. Because like Elton Brand was responsible for a lot of these moves, right? Like
Like
I know Al wasn't happy in Philadelphia, but like like Elton Brand should be the one that they should be booing. But
does that want to make you step on
Elton Brand's neck? Yeah.
No, and it's just the thing with Al is like nobody quite knew how much he had left in the tank when he came back to Boston because he took essentially that year off with the Thunder. Like signed with Philly, had that kind of just a mid-year, and then he was with the Thunder.
He took a sabbatical, man.
Yeah, like that was part of like the huge narrative when they made the finals, like because he was playing awesome. He was 35 at that time, and everyone was like, he basically got like a year and a half off between the pandemic and this weird COVID season that he took off. So I was a little skeptical about him, not like skeptical to see how much he had left in the tank, just because he's 37, like his 17th year in the league. But like, there's something about Embiid that gets him going. I don't know. Like Embiid is pretty honest, I think, when he talks about the Celtics. Like he's like, I forgot what year it was, but remember when he was basically like, yeah, this isn't a rivalry. Like the Celtics always beat us. Like I think there's a little bit of like a mental block for him. And I'm sure Al like really exacerbates that, just being a former teammate. And there's, for some reason, every time Al hits a three and like one of the corners of the gym, like a Sixers fan always talks to him. Like he was talking trash last game on Wednesday. And that happened last season too. So there's just something about Philly and Al Horford and that whole dynamic is just fascinating.
Yeah. It's great. It's great to see.
Yeah, and I mean, Celtics are like what 9-2 right now, and I think we've talked on our show too about the big moves that they made. Obviously, bringing Kristaps and then the Drew Holiday trade closer to the start of training camp. Like aside from that, like we know what the Celtics team is. They've obviously been in championship contention. Like what's like the big storyline now? Because like we kind of know like Jason Tatum is who he is. I know Jaylen Brown signed the new contract. Like, as you guys, like, I know everybody's probably already, like, waiting to see what the playoffs are going to look like. The regular season isn't going to mean, like, that much to them. Like, what are the main storylines right now for the Celtics team?
Yeah, they're just really incorporating the pieces into each other. And I think that's kind of the scary part about the Celtics, because I don't think they've really hit their ceiling in some sense. Like, because last year, the Celtics also got off to a really hot start, and it was 21-5. They had just blown, like, they were up, like, 50 in Phoenix. And it was just, the vibes were amazing, but it came with this caveat of this unsustainable 3-point shooting. And once, right, like people were hitting like half their threes. It was guys like Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, good shooters, but like you just can't expect that over the whole season. And all of a sudden, like it pretty much immediately after 21-5, I remember I was at the Warriors game in SF finals rematch. They lose that. They kind of get into a little bit of a slump, and they kind of peaked then at that 21-5 start. Whereas this year, like they're 9-2, things are good. But you can still tell there's incorporating pieces. Like Drew, he kind of took over in some sense in that Philly game in terms of taking shots and leading the bench unit, but like he hasn't really had any marquee moments. Like Kristaps Porzingis, like he's still kind of incorporating himself into the game. Like there was one game where he only shot 4 times, and it was just one of those things where like the Celtics don't need him to shoot that much because they have Jason Tatum, a Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, etc. So I think that's a little bit of where I'm at in terms of like they still have to incorporate pieces, they still have to get better in terms of like how they play together, but like the fact that they look this good 11 games in is a little bit like, oh, okay, like I think Celtics fans should be happy about that, just because like you've seen when you make these big trades, like you've seen like with the Bucks, sometimes it does take a little bit of time. Like the big 3 Miami LeBron era, there are plenty of super teams, plenty of talented teams that have started slow, but this Celtics team just kind of taking care of business in a sense of like it's kind of boring in some ways to cover, just because like the Philly game was fun, but there's been a lot of blowouts mixed in when you're just kind of like, okay, well, the better team won today, and that's kind of all that happened in some ways.
Do you know how you sound?
I sound horrible. I know. I'm not from Boston.
You sound,
I'm
you
not
sound
from Boston,
entitled.
so I know exactly how I sound.
You sound entitled, my brother.
What I wouldn't give to do 82 slander pods a year because the Raptors are winning by 30 every game. And I'm like, how boring it is. Damn it.
Switchy, man. But aside from the Raptors playing the Celtics last week, like, have you watched the Raptors this season, brother? It's this
not
offense,
too much.
This offense has been.
When we said Joey Hauser would be the best 3-point shooter on the Raptors, like I'm telling you, if he was in the lineup tonight, he would be the best 3-point shooter.
He might start. Yeah. Like
oh man, yeah. I have been very when I watched them last week against the Celtics, I was a little. They started at least somewhat strong, but yeah, it was fine. Celtics were on a back-to-back, so I was kind of. But yeah, the spacing and the 3-point shooting was very much was not great, as you guys would say.
The Raptors play basketball like the 3-point shooting line was never invented or introduced to the NBA.
It's what Canadian James Naismith envisioned.
Yeah, we're actually playing the viewers who, honestly, if they put peach baskets up, I think we'd actually be in the playoff picture more so. But last question, I guess, before you go. I'm almost curious. Dennis Schroeder spent a really short time in Boston. What was the deal like there? What was the vibe? How was the reception, of that?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think Celtics fans didn't love Dennis in some ways because he has the ball in his hand a lot, and it was just like a fit issue. I think he's a good basketball player. Like he puts so much pressure on the rim just because he's such a good driver, but it's just like the fit was weird because this was Ime's lone season in Boston, and if you guys will remember, like the Celtics were kind of the Celtics are not having a good time. They're 18-21 to start the year. They had their second half turnaround, but like the vibes just seemed off. Like the fit wasn't great, and like I don't want to blame Dennis, but like just like playing with a non-shooter like Marcus Smart, it just didn't give them much space to operate. So I think and he had big games and everything, so it was just very much so like I think people understood like Dennis was also like a mid-level exception signing, so like the stakes were pretty low. So it was just kind of like, oh well, this was fun. They ended up trading him to Houston for Daniel Tice, who's a fan favorite. So like I think it's just kind of like whatever in some ways. I think that it wasn't like any strong emotions aside from like a few big games, honestly.
Okay, all right,
good
to know. Maybe I'll ask Dennis a little bit more about what happened.
Yeah, I mean we have him on every single week. I don't know if you knew that, Switchy.
Yeah, we have Adam Silver on. This is just what we do now. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's all good. But we have you on.
We'll always make room for you, my brother.
The three.
No, I'm grateful.
The shot at the three of us right now, the three shot of us right now. I know there's somebody at like a sports bar somewhere, somebody at a gym somewhere that's looking at this.
Someone at Hong Shing right now is like, what? What's going on?
Someone's very confused somewhere who's watching this on mute.
This is the Shanghai 360 I've been telling you about, my brother.
Brother.
No, this is great. I love this. I'm posting this on my socials. Be like, look at these 3 Asian guys just talking basketball.
This is the representation, man. This is the Willow sandwich.
I love this.
No, but Switchy, I appreciate you. Definitely text me when you know if you're traveling here during the season.
We'll do.
Let's get those plans locked in.
And start thinking about your karaoke roster right now. All right? I need 5 songs.
Okay.
I need 5.
I will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. They're all gonna be bangers, sing-alongs.
You
don't want to hear me sing.
Got you.
You don't want to hear me sing, man. All right, we'll talk to you soon, Souchi. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
All right, that was Souchi Terada.
Whoa.
MassLive.
A new person spawned up in the studio.
That's right. We have spawned one more new person. So listen, we talked about the Silver interview. From me looking around like Twitter and Reddit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When the show got posted.
Stop going on Reddit, but yeah. Okay.
Was like, wow, they got Adam Silver?
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, I also thought, wow, we got Adam Silver.
Yeah.
And then the natural question was, how did we land the NBA commissioner on the Raptors show.
So a little backstory before we bring in our man, Daniele here. He's the man who made this happen. Is, this week I was telling some media people, like, at the Raptors games being like, hey, man, like, we're going to have Adam Silver on the show on Thursday. And I was in the media room on Wednesday, and I was like, just to be clear, though, guys, like, I didn't do this. And Eric Carino was like, don't worry, nobody in here thinks you did it. And I was like, oh, that's I know where my standing is in Toronto media. But like Daniele had messaged me on Sunday, and I know you can speak a little bit about this. I know you've been working with the league office to make this happen. So yeah, let us know, man. Let us know the version. Like what happened?
Well, first and foremost, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. This is
thank
unique
you.
circumstance. No, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Unique circumstances for this to be my first appearance on this show.
It's all good.
I really thought maybe on the off chance there'd be an opportunity to talk basketball, but this is pretty cool.
You gotta wait a bit for that, Daniele.
Okay,
Come on,
you gotta know your role, buddy.
Come on, you getting a little gassed up right now.
Wow.
You look at him sober,
fair
that's
enough.
what happens. Huh?
Fair enough. Understood.
You're in an Asian sandwich.
That's a good visual. That's a good visual.
You're in a bami right now, my brother.
No. Hey, I know what that is, Alex. I'm aware. I'm cultured enough to understand what that is.
3 minutes, Daniele.
No. No, either way, again, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course, man.
It was a cool process to work through it with them, with the NBA. Shout out to the league office and Adam Silver's staff for being so gracious with it, being very professional in how they went about it. But yeah, we've been trying to do this since the beginning of the season, going through it. And they were clearly interested, obviously, with the in-season tournament starting as well. And today being the first game here in Toronto, there was a ton of interest on their end to try and do something to help promote that in particular. And obviously what we are doing here with the Raptors show. So shout out to them. And it was a lot of fun going through that process. And yesterday, obviously, you guys nailed the interview. Did a great job. It was cool seeing them on the screen. It was awesome.
It was cool.
Yeah, no, and listen, like I know at the end of the shows, like Will's always giving shout out to everybody. And to be honest, like we probably don't shout out everybody, including yourself, Daniele. Like aside from the Adam Silver interview, like you help us with so much behind the scenes. And this is one of the things like I'm totally stealing from Darko Rajakovic. There's the chain right in front of you there. We just want you to put that on. Okay. I'm going to do a speech, man. Guys, winning is fun, man. Isn't winning fun? You get Adam Silver. You get Louis Zatzman. We're booking James Herbert. So this week's chain goes to Daniele, and we're going to make this a weekly tradition of, just try to highlighting people that help us out behind the scenes. Because like, listen, like Derek, Jennifer, David Sis, all of these people, like so many people support us. JR, I forgot about you again. And no, but
JR was up until midnight editing that Gary Trent interview, man.
I don't care, man. That's his job. But Daniele too. Like we need to. This is what the Raptors show is about, and I think we'll agree. It's about this group effort, and we always want to show love.
No, thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yes, and JR deserves a shout. I'll give JR the shout out. He does a fantastic job. And yesterday, dapped me up right when Silver's face popped up on the screen. He was like, "Yo, you did it, fam."
Yeah. Well, listen.
I was like, thank you. It was cool.
Please take the chain off when you get off air, Daniele. We need it right back.
Yes,
so
not
appreciate
a problem.
it.
And don't worry, Dan Tolman, I will be sending in the expense report. All right.
$44.99 plus taxes.
It was 50 after tax. It was 50 after tax. You can get that at Scotiabank Arena. But seriously, what a great week on the show. Really, really happy with it. And that does it for us today. I've been your host, Willou. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review the show. Seriously, I feel like we've earned a review at this point, right? Thanks once again to Gary Trent Jr. Thanks to Michael Grange, Tim McMahon, Souchi Terada, producer and co-host Alex Wong, Blake Murphy, board producer Derek Brandale, Jennifer Rolnick, David Sis, JR Manitai for helping behind the scenes. We'll talk to you next week.